Yeah.
Well, hey guys, welcome to another TEC event. We're super excited today to our topic of digital change management in an evolving technology world. Before I introduce our speaker and the dialogue we're going to have today, just to shout out to the LinkedIn network and the group that follows us. The Executive Collective is a group of leaders across many disciplines, many cultures, many time zones. And our focus is on making learning easy, making learning fun again, very authentic. We've been talking about it, and we've been doing this now for a year. We're
Mhm.
nonprofit. There's no cost involved. Attendance is free. We have events coming up. In fact, in October, we're going to be doing digital fundraising and new ways of looking at things, hosting the Children's Miracle Network. We're super excited about that. So today's topic, and then I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker, who's going to take us away in a great dialogue, is Mitch Creasey. And I've known Mitch for many years. In fact, originally I got to see some of his skills as one of the most interesting and dynamic CrossFit coaches that got me into CrossFit many years ago. And this was a guy that just makes complex things simple. And I've watched him grow an incredible career in areas of leadership development, change management. He's known as the coach to presidents. He's been all over the US. And we had a great conversation recently about how the world is evolving in technology. We all know that. What tends not to be talked about is many companies that purchase their technology, especially in retail. A lot of that started a long time ago, and they're probably on legacy technology stacks. And so they're going to have a lot of very smart people changing all those things, and often in a 2 to 3 year technology transformation journey. And we're not going to get into the technicalities, but what we want to talk about is literally how this affects humans and how this affects people, frontline leaders, and really how do we start to navigate this kind of change? And it's, I think, unheard of in the past because you need to get behind people, and yet at the same time, you're pairing that up with some actually quite complicated, in many cases, very expensive and
Mhm.
multi-year processes that affect associates and customers. So, Mitch Creasey, I'm going to turn over to you to get us started, and then we'll get into a great dialogue. And everybody, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Rod. Happy to be here with everybody. My wife was asking me this morning. She's like, "Are you nervous?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna go hang out with one of my great friends, all of his buddies, and talk about my favorite subject in the world." So let's fire it up, right? Um, okay, so Rod. Before we hit record, I think you said something really poignant about with CTOs and CIOs and really being surgeons in the way they make these changes. And there might not be the best side manner in these changes, but they're certainly necessary to the growth of the company and for the greater good. Well, I think that analogy is bang on. I think the analogy I like to use is really between leadership and employees or staff is a marriage. And when we think of, and that might resonate really well with some people and not that great with others, but when we think about it, we really are in this long-term committed relationship with our people. And so the same rules really apply. To simplify it, the same rules really apply. So let's say Friday night is always pizza night in your house. And you're going to come home from work, and there's your partner, and they've got the dough out, and they've got the sauce and all the trimmings, and they've cooked them, and they're ready to go, and the wine's going, Sinatra's playing, we're ready, we're having pizza night. It's going to be fantastic. And on your way home from work, you heard that your neighbor, who probably makes a little bit more than you, they do wagyu beef night on Fridays, and you're like, well, not to be outdone. So I'm going to the butcher. I'm getting the wagyu beef. We get in the door. I walk in. I don't say anything. I throw the beef down on the counter. I say, put on your best. Cook this. We're having wagyu beef. I've also hired a private chef to come over to show you step by step how to cook this wagyu beef. I'm getting in the shower. Put your kimono on. Let's do this. And you're there with your pizza going, what in the absolute just happened? And so now your partner comes up, they're showered, the guy shows up to teach you how to cook it. Yeah, you're not an idiot. You're gonna follow these steps. Of course I know how to follow these steps. But then your partner sits down to actually enjoy the meal with you and starts talking about their day as if nothing happened. And then they go, well, I don't understand. The communication's just not there. Seems like I'm getting the silent treatment. I don't know what happened. I got the chef. I got the I got the steps. I showed you exactly what to do. Why are we not simpatico here? What happened? And that's what's happening across industry right now is all of the people, yeah, okay, great. I had 3 clicks to do, now I have 1 click to do. Yeah, great, I get it. You didn't tell me. You didn't tell me why. You didn't ask me how I felt about it. You didn't let me in on where we were going, why we were getting there. And so because of that, yeah, I'm a little pissed. And I'm not going to execute this as I can. Again, it's not, I get it. 3 clicks to 1 clicks. Great. I get it. But I'm not doing it because I'm kind of mad that you didn't tell me why. You didn't ask for my opinion on how. And I have no idea where we're going. And that's kind of where we are right now. And so for me, my job is to really come in and help create and facilitate that dialogue with the pizza chefs, so to speak, to hear what they have to say and help them kind of move through this process. Because again, on the other side, I understand uh, sometimes we don't have time, right? And we have to make these changes very swiftly. And so it's not like there's a bad guy in the room. And that's kind of the whole point of this conversation on a larger scale with the pizza makers, so to speak, is that there is no bad guy. It's really easy to point your finger at the boss and say, "Well, this guy, he's trying to do this and that and the other." And it's like, no, he's not trying to do this, that, and the other. He's making changes the way he or she needs to make the changes, not because they hate you, but because that's what needs to get done. And so when we can create and facilitate that dialogue to just bridge the gap and say, hey, this is why, this is what we're doing, this is why I need you to do it, and this is what's in it for you. And it's okay to also feel sad and not good about it. That's when we all come together on one plane instead of this plane. We go to this plane and then we move forward together as the business grows and changes.
I love what you said, Mitch, about showing up not for the information, but to connect with you. And I think it's really important for leaders to, if they don't know, just express that, right? To be transparent about what they know, what they don't know. I think it's a really good point.
One of
And
the
I think-
things.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mitch. I was just going to say, one of the things we've done, Mitch, we largely have a younger workforce. And I think one of the things that's been interesting is, to Rod's point, I started to have this realization is like anything, Rod, that kind of reeks of corporate or, written with, elements of legalities, they're just going to toss it. I mean, they have no interest. So one of the things we decided, Mitch, about 18 months ago was, if there's something really important or really cool or impactful we want to communicate, we're going to do video. And it might be a 30-second video. Say I'm just like, hey, what's up, associates? I want to share something with you today. But it's like 30, 45, 60 seconds, and it hits them through our platform so they can get it on their phone. That way they can check it out when they're on the subway or when they're eating their breakfast or when in the store. But, we found it to be just a means that, to your point, Rod, can convey authenticity about something in a way that a letter never could. So there's just these little channels, Mitch, that we have available to us nowadays that weren't always there. And that's been something that's worked for us. And sorry, Tim, I see your hands up.
All they're doing is being themselves, which is completely authentic. And so when we're talking about, the workforce rising up and growing and becoming more robust in that generation, to become authentic, but not even to become authentic, but to embrace your authenticity requires a willingness to simply just even consider that there is another way than the way that you were raised in the business. And so what that requires leads me to my second point, and touching on what you said, Rod, is about moving beyond, and what you said, Gail, about someone expressing and saying, like, this is my opinion and pushing that, moving beyond your ego and saying that this is how I perceive value in this thing. Because all that does is close down communication channels and shrink your own authenticity. So the inner work on behalf of the leader then becomes how to outgrow yourself and your perceptions about the business, about the customer, about the employees, and about the world at large. And as you begin to do that on your own, in your process, what happens is you no longer have to force yourself to do a live once a week for every employee. That's just natural. You're like, you know what? I love this company. You probably love this company because you work here. I just want to get to know you. Let's just talk. So there's no agenda because you're not seeing yourself as the boss anymore. You're just a human being that works at Expedia, just like everybody else. And you got into it because you liked the hours and it was a good paycheck, just the same way everybody else showed up to the company, right? So you're starting to connect on a level that supersedes initiatives, and is really just, I want to get to know the people around me in my community. And that's when things start to really move forward at an accelerated pace. That's when ideas really start to come out. And all of a sudden, the things that you're going to roll out to your customers are above and beyond what you imagined, because every single person in the company now feels safe and available to express their ideas to the people who can actually implement and do things about it.
Mhm.
You know, I'm really struck by this conversation today, and I think, I think about Mitch, the kind of situations that come with you or people in your field. I mean, Janine, you're involved in a lot of similar communications, and
Great advice. Yep.
I like that too, Mitch, because like one of the things this is a really timely conversation. I was just having a conversation in my work about this as well, and talking, kind of going back to the human element of some of these things we're talking about. Like one of the things we talk a lot about in the company I work in is alignment, because we have multiple facilities stretched out across the U.S. And so getting alignment is really important. And I talk to my team a lot about alignment doesn't require agreement. It requires trust. And building trust with another individual is not something you do over email. It's not something you do over chat. It's something that, first of all, you got to make them feel heard. And it's all of these creative ideas you guys have been talking about, and really kind of getting people to a place where they're willing to stand behind your decision, even if it's not the decision that they would have made. I think that's like the ultimate end goal, to get to, okay, now we can all take a breath of relief and get the organization all moving in the same direction. And that's hard to do, but I think we live so much in this world where everything is scripted. People are afraid to say what's on their mind because they're afraid of backlash. I mean, you just look at the government officials and everything. Everyone knows they're being lied to all the time by people.
Yeah.
And if you can break through that mold as a leader in an organization and express authenticity and have an actual dialogue with people, it's a refreshing breath of fresh air. I mean, it's like you can actually breathe real oxygen when that happens. And that's how I think trust is built.
Shop floor with a 3-piece suit and a clipboard in your hand. Like, meet people really where they're at and how they want to be met. And I just think sometimes we get that wrong too, and that's part of making that connection you're talking about, Mitch.
Yeah. For me, I think the biggest summary is authenticity. And I think authenticity starts with you. And so my question for you guys to take away here, and I ask myself this in all of my professional endeavors, whether it be face-to-face with one-on-one clients, marketing, just online communication, my driving question is always, how can I be more me here? How can I be more of myself? When you allow that to pull you forward, things start to change.